What's going on, everybody? Hope everyone is having an amazing day so far. I'm here with my co-host Brad. We got a very special guest. If you guys follow her on Twitter, we have Boss Lady. She has her own YouTube channel, Boss Lady and J-Rod, one of the more famous University of Miami Hurricane fans on social media. How you doing today, Boss Lady? Thank you so much for coming on.
Fantastic. Thanks for having me. It's awesome.
Of course.
It's always a pleasure.
Oh, whose birthday? It was somebody's birthday.
It was
Yeah.
my birthday 2 days
This is
ago.
gonna be like the worst thing ever
It was
for me.
Paul's
I have
birthday.
like the attention span of a mosquito.
No,
I'll be
man,
like,
it's
who's right? What are we reading?
November is our birthday month. Paul's birthday just passed, and mine's coming up.
Right.
So, you got our birthdays and the biggest month of college football.
And speaking of a
you guys
big
are
month,
too young though, so you got like so many birthdays.
right?
left to go.
Yeah, we got plenty more. Boss Lady, how are you feeling going into NC State? Manny Diaz, he's 0 for 4 after coming off of bye week games. It's a Friday night game. Dave Doran, he's a pretty good head coach. I think we've seen enough to kind of assess this team moving forward into the second half. So, what are your thoughts going into this game?
I mean, that's the problem, right? Usually when we get out of bye week, you think that they're like recovered and great, but then they come out really slow and you're just like, oh my God, what's going on? So, I mean, I think that as long as they, go full throttle at the beginning, then I think we'll be okay. I do think that we'll do a good job, but I mean, some of these last games have been really close and pretty boring. Like, it's just kind of like we're still at that mediocre, games, and that's the thing. Even though they've had all these additions and we do see some great plays, but it's just like these things are like dragging. So hopefully they'll come out, and the rushing game they need to do something with that. And with every like kick return, it's like we just catch the ball and then there's nothing. I just need them to like be explosive from the jump, and then I think that'll help us out. But if they go in there and they're like if they're in sleep mode, it's not going to be good.
I was just telling Paul that. I mean, it's crazy how, I mean, we only have one loss, and yet we have probably only seen like a good 7 out of 10 as far as a performance from Miami throughout this whole year. Like, we have yet to see like either a 9 or a 10 perfect game out of this team. And to only have one loss right now, it's crazy to think that. And yet there's still so much more on the table that we have to offer. Going into this NC State game, me personally, I think if there is an ACC team to play off of a bye right now, I think it could be NC State, just because they're not very well as far as matching wise with us on both sides of the football. They're another team that struggles running the ball offensively, similar to us. You saw what North Carolina did to them last week, or 2 weeks ago. I think if we're able to kind of throw the ball heavy at the beginning of the game and get to an early lead, hopefully the running game could kind of spice some things up. But Boss Lady, what is your thoughts on Lou Headley out of all players? I got to spice up this show a little bit real quick. I know Boss Lady loves things full throttle, so we gotta go with Lou Headley. What about Lou Headley, Boss Lady? What's your thoughts on?
Lou Headley knows how Boss Lady feels about Lou Headley.
Our special teams has been amazing, like night and day, going from last year to this year.
Well, that's one of the things that I think is like, people are probably like, oh, what's a girl gonna say, like, oh, their uniforms or whatever. But honestly, I know it might be lame, but I'm really glad with our new kicker.
Yep.
Like having somebody that's reliable is a big deal. And then even Headley, it definitely helps. But going back to like the only games, that's what I feel like. I've gone to a few games at the stadium, and because of the whole COVID thing, I don't know if that has to do with it too, but the ambiance is just dry, and like having the games kind of just also, besides Florida State, which that's the best thing. Any season that we murder Florida State, I'm always like, okay, that's good for me. But like the rest of the games, I just feel like they've been like slow, and so hopefully, obviously, we're gonna need more than just Lou Headley. But you know who I do love? I love BJ, Brevin Jordan. That's my dude. I love him. He's awesome.
And he is expected to play this week against NC State. Brad, did you want to give everyone kind of an update where things stand? I know the list is going to be reported 1 hour before the game.
Yeah.
Kind of what players you've heard or are confident that are making the trip and are not, you believe?
No, I mean, it's all still rumors. I mean, I heard before there was a couple starters out, but now I'm hearing like it's more freshmen. I think you'll probably see the same few guys that were out a couple weeks ago, along with a little bit more freshmen. But as long as De'Ara King, Brevin Jordan, like we just mentioned, and like Bubba Bolden, and at least we have Phillips or Roche, at least one of them, we should have no problem talent-wise to beating NC State. It's honestly, like we talked about earlier, Paul, it's all about, are we going to be able to win this game without beating ourselves? Because I am not at all worried about NC State at all. It's more about, I'm more worried about us as a football team. And being 5-1, 6-1, it's like, you shouldn't be this far into the season and still having these worry, like not being able to know going into a football game like that we could put up 30, 40 points on the team.
And Boss Lady, what are your thoughts? You know, the last 3 games, I feel like Miami, a lot of fans say they've been struggling. Kind of what's your assessment so far of the team going into this game? You know, seeing the past 6 games, we can start off offensively.
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, I kind of touched on this earlier. Like, I just think that we're not explosive. You know, it's still kind of, you know, we have King, and that obviously has helped a lot, you know, and seeing him, you know, get touchdowns, you know, passing and rushing for touchdowns. So that gives us that dual threat, which is great. But overall, like, Harris has been struggling. We haven't seen a lot of like the running backs. We just don't see a lot of like anything like, oh my God, this is awesome. So I think that that's why we're still having all these things, that it's just like this slow, like all these games, you know, they're just slow. And then when you think about being in the big leagues, you know, with Alabama, you know, everybody's arguing with me about Ohio State and, you know, whatever, maybe not so great right now. But, you know, when you think about Clemson and all these big schools to kind of like be back there, we're just not there yet, which I think it takes time. We literally just have our offensive coordinator, you know, starting new this year, which thank God, much better, you know.
Yes.
But I still think that we still have a lot of work to do. And we do have some really good freshmen. So I think that it'll be good to see how they use those freshmen to get something out of it. I mean, like, even I was at the Pitt game and I think that there was a turnover chain and I was just like, okay, yeah. It's just not, it's just something's missing. It's just not, you know, like, I don't know. It's just not there yet.
No, absolutely. I could definitely vouch for that. Well, I got another question for you. So, I mean, everybody that follows you on social media, they obviously follow you for certain reasons, either because of your looks or some of the tweets you say, you know, or some of the pictures you post. But at the end of the day, like, everybody respects you because no matter like what you tweet, it's got like facts to it. You know what I mean? Or like, you know what you're talking about. What, like, I know you've been so close to your mom. Where does like this whole like you being around sports and obviously like being into the Dolphins and the Heat? I mean, I know during the playoff run, me and you would always talk about Tyler Hero and all these other Heat players. I mean, what got you into sports originally?
Actually, like, so I grew up playing. I was very athletic, which doesn't show now, but I played, you know, I ran track and field. I played volleyball. I was a gymnast. I did ballet. So it's a lot of like physical. I was always very competitive. And that's the thing. I'm very competitive when it comes to sports stuff. Like, if we were to go out to Dave and Buster's, I would be like the most unbearable person you'll ever have to deal with. If we play like air hockey, I mean, you'll be like, okay, I'm done with her. Ask Antoine Staley about me in air hockey.
Okay.
He'll be like, oh God, no. So if I beat you, you're gonna be hearing it forever. So okay. Yeah, it's kind of that thing. But actually, football, both football and wrestling, I have an older brother. He's 10 years older than me. And so I grew up with him. And then, yeah, just like on Saturday mornings, he would go get a loaf of Cuban bread and then we would watch wrestling. And then, you know, just started watching football. He's a huge Cowboys fan, but I was always like, no. So it was always like local, you know, all my local stuff. So, yeah, which I don't know, sometimes actually, I don't know, being a Cowboys fan isn't any better than the Dolphins anyways. It's about, right?
It's a little bit better. It's a
little bit better.
It's a lot better.
No, I don't know.
Yeah. 5 rings compared to 1. I'll take it.
I mean, think about it. Like everybody, like people say Cowboys are America's team, but a lot of people really don't like the Cowboys. Nobody really hates the Dolphins. We're like adorable.
I think it's the colors and the mascot.
Yeah, and our awesome fight song. Come on,
Yeah.
that song is the best. So yeah, I grew up just watching sports with my older brother, and like he used to take me out like in the front yard, and I could have Twitter people that could have seen this, because when we go to the tailgate, I could throw the football better than a lot of guys.
Okay,
there you go.
It wouldn't be, if I were to play a position, it wouldn't be tight end or wide receiver. It'll be quarterback. So
I think it's because she wants to put her hands under his butt.
I mean, I won't get into it. It could have been like a quarterback and a center. That would have been a good position as well. Let's talk about Blake Baker for a little bit. I know it's been a hot topic. A lot of fans are kind of on edge. Either you love Blake Baker or you don't. Personally, for me, after UVA putting up 44 points against North Carolina, I feel a lot better of the performance we had, specifically in the second half against UVA. I mean, Boss Lady, what are your thoughts about Blake Baker so far going into his second year at the University of Miami? Because he's been under a lot of heat.
Right. So I think, and I said that with the turnover chain. I think, going back during Mark Richt, Manny Diaz was a defensive coordinator, right? And so this is how this all started, with the turnover chain, and we just started seeing our defense like so explosive. And now they're doing good. I'm not saying that they're awful. I mean, like, I think we're ranked 40th in the nation or 41st in the nation as far as that. So it's not like the worst thing ever. But again, it's not eye-popping. It's not how it was when Manny was a defensive coordinator. So I think that's, you have him as a head coach now, and then you kind of like step back on your defensive coordinator now, and you're just like, yeah, this is still, it's not great.
Yeah, I mean, the bend don't break mentality is definitely boring to watch, but I mean, at the end of the day, we're not giving up a lot of points and a lot of touchdowns. And I think the key is our offense needs to execute in the red zone. That's what hurt us 2 weeks ago. I mean, we had plenty of opportunities to where, even though the game was close, it could have easily been out of reach if we would have just been able to execute a couple more times. I think the Blake Baker, like the fire Blake Baker thing, I was all on board like 2 or 3 weeks in, just because our offense was already looking so much better than it was in previous years. But yeah, our defense was, like Boss Lady said, it was very bland. That, like, we knew what to expect in years past, and we knew we had the players to fill in those roles, but yet we weren't seeing the same results. Right. So, all right, we have the game plan, we have the spreadsheet, we know we have the talent and the players. Why are we not getting the same results? And yet we have Manny Diaz, who got those results for us. So, like, that's where it's kind of like, I mean, we know we have the guy that can get the results. Why are we not seeing it?
Absolutely. And, the bend don't break, whatever you want to call it. It's basically running a zone coverage. Yep. South Florida, the players you recruit are fast athletes. If I have the faster guys on the field, I'm not going to run zone coverage. I'm going to play man. You're playing in the ACC. That's not the fastest Power 5 conference. The SEC is, even to a certain extent, maybe the Big 12 is. So you're not going to be playing against a lot of fast athletes. You're going to have the fastest team compared to, it's going to be you or Clemson. So I'm not really a big fan of playing zone coverage. And like you said, a team like UNC, for example, they like to go spread the field out and run very fast, do a lot of quick passes. So that's a game to look out for moving forward as well. So it's going to be very interesting how Blake Baker does the rest of the way moving forward. So we'll see what happens.
Yep.
I mean, from the rest of the schedule, because I mean, obviously, I follow Canes football, but I don't go following like every other team like you guys. Some of you guys like know these people's like social security numbers and bank accounts. So you guys are all like on top of it. I'm all like, wow, he's attractive. What is he doing? That's about it besides the football itself. But what from the rest of the schedule that we have, do we have anybody that's really like explosive, as far as offense? Are they like, so, because what do we have? Wake Forest,
right? Virginia Tech, North Carolina.
Virginia Tech and UNC. I mean, I think that for the remainder of these games, I think we'll be okay with the defense. But yeah, like if we were to face somebody like, again, LSU sucks this year, but I mean, it's like the traumatic LSU experience, or the Gators, or
Yeah.
Right.
I would love to play the Gators again at the end of the year. I think that would be a great matchup.
I want Georgia.
Redemption.
I would definitely go for Gators, just because like if we were to be able to beat them, because I mean we almost beat them and we were not as a good team,
Correct.
So if we were to be able to beat them now, yes. Because I'm tired of hearing all these other stupid Florida football schools like, oh, we're better. Like, shut up.
For sure.
Boss lady, how do you feel about, Manny Diaz so far as our head coach at Miami? Last year, it was rough. It was really rough going 6-7. I mean, losing to FIU, Louisiana Tech. I mean, that's something that you think it's a dream. Like, wake me up. Am I in a coma? I mean, what's going on? So how happy are you with the turn of the program going 5-1? We're ranked 11th in the nation, or are you still on a wait and see approach with Manny Diaz in his second year?
No, I mean, I think he heard loud and clear how disappointed, we were at. So then he really tried to, we got a new kicker, a new offensive coordinator. So I think he's tried to at least fix some of these things. So I think it's fair to, he's doing a pretty good job so far this second year. I'm much happier than obviously last season, but we Miami fans tend to really do some crazy stuff that we put pressure on people like this, like you're a 300-pound woman and you're supposed to lose, 200 pounds in 3 months. And it's like, what? That's not going to happen, So I think that sometimes we're setting up these expectations that are just way too unrealistic for the first year, and then people are like, well, it's not his first year. He was there as a defensive coordinator, blah, blah, blah. But really, I think as a head coach, last year, the whole hype about it. And I think some of the hype did come from them because, they went into, which I was there when they came in with the yacht, and did all this stuff. And you're just like, oh, yeah, we're going to win every single championship. I was there. And this guy, when he was giving a speech, and I'll give him that much, he does hype you up.
He can talk.
So you just feel like you took a shot of something or snorted some blow, or I don't even know. You're just hyped up listening to him, like, oh man, we're gonna murder everybody. That's it. This is gonna be great. And then so last year when we go to the games and we're like, all right, this was bleh, but then he did. I feel like he's done, made important moves and address those things. And we're seeing a lot of improvement. Obviously, quarterback, great improvement. So I think that right now, I think I give him an A. I think he's doing a good job for now. We'll see what happens.
Definitely. And D Hernandez, thanks for the donation. You just brought up a good point, a good question about the effort in recruiting offensive linemen like specialty players. That's another thing I think Manny Diaz, he ended up getting a good offensive line coach and Garen Justice. And now we're starting to get not only solidifying our offensive line this year to where we're starting to build depth, but the next two classes are slowly starting to pick up more guys. This next class, you got Ryan Rodriguez, you got Seymour. Right. The next class over that, you hopefully get a kid like Julian Armella out of Columbus. So, it's going to be interesting how this team does the next following years. Because me personally, I think the 2021 class that's coming in after this year is going to be the blueprint that kind of sets the foundation going forward to seeing if the U can really be back.
Yeah, and I think, mentioning, we do have a lot of freshmen. And one of the things that, like I said, you guys follow all these stats a lot more than I do. And sometimes I see you guys trending whatever Garcia. And I'm like, who's this? What is this you guys know about? But, I think that that's important. And I think he did do that. We have a lot of local talent, and a lot of this local talent was going elsewhere. And I'm like, why? Yep. So I think he's done good in recruiting a lot of the kids that are down here. So, which I don't know what it is, like the Cuban cola or what, but we produce a lot of really good football players. So it's why were these kids going elsewhere?
For sure.
Absolutely. Manny Diaz did state he wants to keep the best talent in Miami-Dade, in Broward County, in Palm Beach County. We did see Yule Keith Brown, I think he's at Miami Central. He was at Miami Gulliver Prep before, and his teammate Amari Daniels. They are going to Texas A&M.
Yep.
Got a question for Brad. Was that a surprise? Do you see Miami back in the mix? Also, Terrence Lewis is their new teammate down at Miami Central. Does he tag along with them to Texas A&M?
Nah, I don't think it was a surprise. I think Texas A&M was pretty much on board with Amari Daniels from the beginning. If there was a team that was going to compete with Miami, it was Texas A&M. Keith Brown maybe a little bit more surprising than Amari Daniels. I thought he could have probably went to a better SEC team, but I think Terrence Lewis is the next kid to watch. I think stuff is picking up on him. Hopefully we can sign him and get him in the class.
Love it.
Do you guys how do you guys keep up with all these high school players? I'm really curious. Seriously.
Just a lot of information and just having the right people to send you stuff. It's all about group chats and who you know on social media right now.
Oh God.
I think it's passion too, because if you're passionate about something, you for me, if I'm passionate about something, I'm doing 110%.
Correct.
So
did you guys ever play sports?
Yeah. Did.
I played football, basketball, and baseball my freshman year. My sophomore year was just basketball after that.
Yeah. No, I played collegiate baseball, and then I wish I would have kept playing basketball through high school, but I had to pick one or the other, unfortunately. So I went with baseball instead.
Well, I feel like it's a little bit safer, right, as far as injuries.
Right. Football's football, as we know, seeing Avante Williams, what's going on in this situation, we saw that in the past with Amon Richards. Is it Marquise Gayett, remember him?
Who?
Marquise Gayett.
Oh yeah.
safety
as well. So, I mean, football, it is an intense sport.
For sure.
Health is very key. So,
yeah. I haven't been following that with the Canes. Because I know that some of the freshmen were out because of the whole COVID. So is it just because they were quarantined or because we were having issues with it?
From what I've heard, a couple of the players did get COVID, and I think even a coach or two got COVID. And then I think a lot more players were out because they were doing the whole protocol where if you were around that person within 24 hours, you also had to be quarantined. So I think a lot more players are out because they're just under the impression they could possibly have it, even though they got tested negative.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's more players out because of that reason than actually having COVID.
Yeah.
Boss Lady, where can all our fans watching right now, where can they find you on YouTube and on Twitter?
Yeah, so I also do my shenanigans of regular day tweeting is you can find me at 305 Miami 6924. And then my podcast with JR, so J-Rod and the Boss Lady, you can find us on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, Twitch, whatever other weird anything you want of podcast, it's there. JR's awesome for handling all that part. So it's we usually, this is fun because I don't get to talk about sports really.
Right.
I tell JR, but JR is like blah blah blah. So we end up doing crazy other shenanigans of obviously blowjobs and the such. So we just talk about other crazy stuff. Lately it's just been Spanish word of the day, luckily. So I get a break from the craziness. But yeah, it's fun. So definitely, if you want to check something out that's not political or anything, like that, we try to keep it away from politics. Sometimes we
for the ones watching right now, she has 31,000 followers on Twitter for a reason. This girl, when she tweets something, it's either really funny or really sexual sarcastic, and it's always hilarious. You can't take her serious half the time, but she's such great people. There's not too many like her.
It's a fun experience. I mean, I think, obviously I've been on there for a really long time. So, and it kind of just started when I moved away from Nashville and just being alone, in a new city, living in San Diego. So I had lost my entire entourage that I used to hang around with. So I was like, okay, I got nobody to talk to now. So I started tweeting. And I started with the tweeting Miami Heat stuff and Kane stuff, and then started getting more followers like that. And then obviously I had my little erotica era where I was posting a lot of erotica. That brought a lot of weirdos though. So I had to pump the brakes on there. And then now it's more there's not one theme. It's just whatever is going on. It's just sometimes I have to be okay, this was a joke, because people have become so accustomed because I try to keep it, 100%. So if like people see something, it's like, yeah, I'm there right now. Like, at Besasud or like any place that I like to hang out or Las Rosas or whatever. So I'm always posting stuff that's, right then and there and 100. But like last night I posted something, a quote tweet like, oh, who have you accidentally sent your nudes to? And I wrote Obama. And I got so many people like, did you really send Obama your nudes? I'm like, no, man. I was like, no. And they're like, well, he follows you. And I'm like, yes, I know. Shh, don't make any alert notice on it so that he doesn't unfollow me.
Oh my gosh. That's crazy. I didn't know that.
Yeah, it was yeah, I mean, for a long time ago, before he became president. So that was funny.
Nice.
But yeah, I was like, so yeah.
What I got a question. Are you based out of Miami?
Born, raised, all the time here. Yes, yeah.
What's your favorite restaurant in Miami?
My house.
Your house? Love it. Love it.
My mom. No, if it comes to Cuban food, it's definitely my house. I don't go eat Cuban food out really like ever. But my favorite restaurant here, I don't know, that's a hard one because I do like to eat, but once I find something I like, I try not to, I just like stick to it. If it's not broke,
don't fix.
There's different places for like poke and like, sushi and all these different places. There's a lot of good places, a lot of Italian places. So
love it.
It's hard. It's too many places here to go eat. That's for sure. So it's hard to pick a favorite, but
sure.
Flanagan's,
yeah, love
rib rolls. You gotta get them rib rolls.
Yeah, I feel like the one in Coconut Grove is the best one. I could be wrong on that.
Ooh, there's a lot in like 88th Kendall is popping a lot.
Okay, I haven't been to that one. I never make it out to
Kendall. The one close to Doral is the one that I used to hang out with at like all the time. I haven't been there in ages now, but then I started going to the one in the Grove, and yeah, it's all right. It's not bad. It's just like sometimes it gets overly crowded, and I'm like, back up.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm like, I don't go sit at tables. I'm always at the bar. Like I don't do the table thing.
Boss lady, before we let you go, what is your prediction against NC State Friday night?
I think that we will win. I think they have but I'm gonna think that we're gonna win for every damn game. So, but realistically, don't they have a backup quarterback starting too?
Yes.
Yeah. So I feel like we'll do pretty well. I mean, I think that we're gonna. I don't know. If I were to do a score prediction, I think that would be at least a 12-point difference.
12-point difference. Love it.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I think we'll do. I like honestly. I don't think. I hope that it's not going to be something like 19-14 or some BS like that. I mean,
I'm afraid. I'm afraid it's going to be like a 24-20, 17-14 type game. Like we're gonna start off slow like we usually do, but like NC State's just going to be that bad on offense where it's just a close game.
Yeah, I mean, if we're able to get to rush and get some yards there, I think we'll. And obviously, I'm sounding like John Madden right now, like the most obvious shit. And then we score points, and then we'll win.
Yeah.
but I think that as long as if we don't come out dry as hell at the beginning, I think then we'll do good. Nobody likes anything dry. Remember
perfect. Well, boss lady, thank you so much for coming on. Taking time out of your schedule to come on. It's always a pleasure, and hopefully you can come on more in the near future.
I always like to come, so thank you. Yes. Thank you guys for the invite.
All right,
man. Y'all.
All right. Peace. All right. That was Boss Lady. We got a very special guest coming on right now from the Red and White podcast to preview the 2020 North Carolina State Wolfpack. Evan, how you doing today, sir?
What's up, fellas? She was a character, man. Wow.
Yeah, it's hard to follow up after that one, right?
Seriously, I won't get many of those jokes that she got in there, so I'll try to keep it clean.
Evan, thank you so much for coming on. We greatly appreciate that you took the time out of your day to come on. And, what should Miami Hurricanes fans kind of expect from this North Carolina State football team already 6 games into the season?
It's an interesting question, man. And I was listening to y'all and your last week, and I would say expect more than Brad does because I don't think Brad's got a very high opinion of us. So I'll go ahead and put that out there. Our offense is probably not going to be terrible, and you're not worried at all. I mean, I think that's selling us a little short. I'm not saying we're great by any means,
I'm
But we're
more
not
worried
bad.
about us. I'm more worried about. I think we'll beat ourselves more than NC State. I mean, don't get me wrong.
That's fair.
You guys are decent, but I just feel like we're both battling the same thing. We're trying to get our running game back going. And
Yeah.
we'll see what happens.
No, I think that's fair. You guys are higher ranked. You're the bigger program. All the pressure is on you guys. There's no pressure on us, right? There's no expectations. And, you know, with playing the backup quarterback and all that stuff, like, well, we can score, right? So there's some things like you said earlier, you know, expect their offense to be terrible. I don't think it's going to be terrible. So if you're betting on this game, you know, the over is what, 58? I'm probably taking the over because I don't think either one of us can stop one another. I think that's going to be the real problem.
Okay.
Evan,
getting into it. Go ahead. Sorry.
I want to jump in quick. You know, I do live in Raleigh, North Carolina currently. You know, I got NC State fans coming from the woodworks. I mean, I got to deal with them all the time. I always bring up Jim Valvano because and Chris Corchiani living in the past. But just to tease them, Evan, I want to state something. I'm not a big fan of Bailey Hockman at all. I don't think he's good at all. I liked Devin Leary. I thought he was a pretty good quarterback. Why did Bailey Hockman get the nod over Finley? I thought he showed a lot of promise against UNC early on. What kind of quarterback should Miami expect with Bailey Hockman going into this game?
Man, that's the $1 million question, right? He can do it, but he hasn't done it consistently. I think what I said last night on our podcast is he is going to make some dumb mistakes, and that is the real issue there. If he can limit those, which, to be honest, he hasn't shown the ability to do, then we have a chance. Like the end of the Carolina game, right? We're getting smoked, but he played well. You know, he played well enough. And I think that is probably why. I mean, it makes sense that he's the starter, right? He's got more experience. You know, the thing that I was saying, you know, with Finley is he's going to make the inexperienced, the rookie mistakes.
Right.
Which is, to me, that's probably a little bit better than the dumbass mistakes that, you know, Hockman is going to make, because he's most likely going to make those. Every game he started, he's made some, you know, out throw that he can't throw and it turned into a pick six, or just, you know, just a bad decision, right? And if he's grown a lot over this bye week, then okay. But, you know, I expect them to rein it in so that the game is not in his hands, and just to keep things under control, because, I think most State fans are with you, is that our expectations with Bailey Hockman are not super high. I think he's capable, but he's not great.
And I think what helps to that point, though, Evan, is we play a bend, don't break type defense, to where as long as a quarterback that we're playing can make the consistent 7 to 10 yard throw, you're going to be able to drive down the field on us. The question is, are you going to be able to execute in the red zone and score the points after that? Because we've seen time and time again, not just this year, but in years past, teams can easily run it down the field, even if it's your backup or your backup quarterback.
Yeah.
Any team we play, it's always, oh, no, they just lost 2 in a row. Miami should sweep them. Miami should beat them by 40. Or their 2 best quarterbacks are out this week. We're going to beat them by 30. It never happens like that. That's why I think it could end up being a closer game and not really high scoring, just because I don't think NC State has played a overall great defense like Miami has. But at the same time, I think Miami is only great because we're able to not get the touchdowns on us. Because like I just mentioned, you can easily run it down the field on us and get the first downs. But we're just one of those teams where we're not going to give up the big plays, which is, I think, what NC State kind of relies on a lot.
Yeah, that's what they want to do, and that was the offense with Devin Leary. But to be honest, I don't think that's what you're going to get from Bailey Hockman. Like, if you look towards the end of last year, they didn't want to play that. They're going to run swings and screens, and they're going to try to, you know, keep that under control and rein him in. And yeah, you know, it's hard to looking back at our common opponents, right? We played Pitt at Pitt, and we scored 38, right? So we can score, but it's hard because we had Devin Leary. The offense was different then. So I don't think you're going to see them they're going to take some shots, right? They're going to put in one of our young, fast guys and try to take some shots down the field. But what they're going to really try to do is get our running backs to the second level and exploit your linebackers. Your safeties are really good. Your linebackers are not. And so that's what I think we're going to try to do. I think our if you look at run blocking grades in the ACC, we're second in the conference for run blocking. We have 2 good running backs, 3 good running backs. They're going to try to utilize them more, I think, and get to that second level and to try to make this, try to take this game out of Bailey Hockman's hands so that we can, if you're going to give us those, 7-10 yard plays, they're going to try to take them. I think that's what we're going to see.
What's the what's the one position group that worries you the most on NC State?
I mean, quarterback, right? Our team has changed so much with the loss of Devin Leary. I think if we had Leary, we're competitive last week. We'll be competitive in this game. I think that's a big difference. Outside of that, we've seen some inconsistencies, like from offensive line pass blocking. We've been too inconsistent. Okay. I think the defensive line has shown games where they can get a lot of pressure and they can be disruptive, but they're not doing it consistently. And same with our linebackers. Our linebackers have had some really good games, but if you break it down, they've had some games where teams that are really good running teams, like Virginia Tech and Carolina, have really strong run games. They've hurt us, right? And so if Miami's going to win this game, it's going to be getting De'Aaron King out of the pocket and running him. I don't think your running backs are going to do it. I think it's going to be he's going to have to exploit us that way. Okay. Most people coming into this year would have said, hey, our secondary is the biggest question, but they've held up all year, like surprisingly. It's a bunch of young guys. They're not the fast guys, but they're strong, they're big, and they can play. So it being inconsistent is probably going to be our quarterback, and then there are 2 lines. They have potential to be really good, but they haven't shown it consistently.
Absolutely, and NC State they faced a fairly similar offense and pace of play with UNC under the direction of Philip Longo as their OC. Brett Lashley, up-and-coming offensive coordinator, came from SMU, put up a lot of points. You just mentioned De'Aaron King, a very mobile quarterback, pretty solid arm, pretty good quarterback all around. How do you think what do you think this North Carolina State defense has to do in order to be successful against Miami's offensive power?
What's funny about Rhett Lashley was when Dave Doran took this job, he was one of the guys that Dave Doran was high on and tried to hire him. Wow. He ended up going I forgot where he was before y'all, but he ended up going there. But the pass could have been different. But he and Dave Doran are pretty close friends from what I was told. Our defense, it's going to be interesting, man. They're going to have to get pressure. Contain De'Aaron King is going to be the first thing that they got to do, right? Our defensive line has got to be disruptive. I think there's an opportunity for some disruption there because the Miami offensive line is not great. And if we can be disruptive with our offensive line, our linebackers are probably our strength. If they're healthy and playing how they should be, that's probably our strength of our team. And they can look to exploit, some disruption on the offensive line. What concerns me about Miami is you guys might not have all the names and all the guys that you've had before, but you have the speed. And will Miami be able to use that speed to almost exploit it, so to speak? So those are my biggest concerns right there, or the biggest opportunity, I guess, for us to stop them. Contain De'Aaron King is probably the 90% of that.
For sure. Evan, how long have you been covering NC State football?
Long time, man. Podcast we started 5 years ago.
Okay.
Probably, something like that.
But you've been a fan like your whole life, I'm assuming?
Oh, it's the curse I was born with, man. Yeah, okay. Absolutely.
Mr. HD earlier brought up Mario Williams and Manny Lawson. I grew up in Miami, and my dad coached high school football down there. I'll bring up 2 names for you to see if you remember: Steven Tulloch and Andre Maddox.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Steven Tulloch, man. Those 2 guys on defense that's when NC State's defense was one of the best in the nation at that year.
Yeah, so that Manny Diaz was on Chuck Amato's staff for 5 years or something like that, and Chuck recruited the hell out of South Florida.
Yeah,
right? You got a bunch of guys from down there. Tulloch had a great NFL career.
He did.
Andre Maddox was in the NFL for a while.
Yep.
We had some players back then. We still
Speaking
have
of-
good offensive linemen.
Speaking
Excuse me.
of assistant coaches, former coaches, your current OC Tim Beck, he was the former offensive coordinator at Ohio State. I believe he was the one of the primary recruiters for the quarterback room under the direction of Urban Meyer. What kind of offense does Tim Beck bring this year for NC State?
That's the thing, man. You can see it's evident in the amount of growth our offense has had from last year to this year. Play calling has been more sophisticated, but also there's more flow to it, more flow to the offense. The plays haven't changed, right? It's like Miami. They're gonna run a lot of that inside zone read, four verts play. The offenses are very similar, I think, in that regard. But what Tim Beck has done has just brought an experienced play caller, right? That's the biggest change. And what I want to see from him with Bailey Hockman at quarterback is a little bit more creativity in the run game. I think that's our opportunity there. We tend to run out of 12 personnel pretty much strictly. And so run, spread runs or something else to kind of open it up there. That's what I really want to see from him. I think he's got the ability to do it, but I really think the shortened season or shortened spring season has really hurt the install. You're starting to see more and more as we go along, but our entire staff for the most part is new defensive coordinators, new linebackers coach, safeties coach, offensive coordinator, right? All these people are new to state, and so it's slowly starting to progress. But what we've seen is that when it's going well, right? If they play with tempo, which they tend to do with Bailey Hockman, so I'm curious to see if they do that in this game. But when he started against Wake, they play a lot of tempo. They threw a lot of swing passes and got guys out in space a little bit. We put up 45 on Wake, which is good for us, right? We're not we're not going to blow anybody away like that. But I don't know. I like Beck, what he's doing. You can tell he's more experienced than what we've had in the past. So
I'm
not sure what the game plan is going to be for this game. It's just going to be so different. Sorry, Brad.
I would personally say you guys have had a more complete or better offensive game overall than we have had this season so far. And I mean, that says a lot for the record that we have. And I think us Kane fans, Boss Lady was talking about earlier on with us, but it's like us Miami fans, we have so much high expectations before a season starts or before a game starts. It's like we look at all these things on paper and how the talent here doesn't match up with the talent here, or the coaching staff here doesn't match up. And we play this computer Madden type game where it's like, oh, we should be up 21, 28 points. No problem. I mean, you just mentioned you're going to have a backup quarterback. The quarterback is one of the big, if not the biggest position in a football game. And if that is coming into this game being one of your concerns, you would think as a Miami fan, us having the defensive line and the attacking defense that we play with, we should be a lot more confident. But me personally, I'm not, just because of, again, the bye week. There's something about a bye week when it comes to Miami football in the past couple of years. And it's just we haven't played up to the expectations. And, I'm hoping that we could at least contain your offense like you're saying, because, if you guys end up putting 35, 38 points on us, I would be very surprised if our offense comes after a bye and puts up that type of performance.
Yeah, you guys, I think you have the ability to do it on us. I think that's I don't expect our defense to shut you down. I don't expect it to be a 19-14 game like your UVA game, right? I think you guys will score this game probably, 34-28 or 38-30 or something weird like that, right? I think there's going to be some points put up there. And like your guy said, Tim Beck is dope. I think he wasn't the problem at Texas. The guy in the comments, I agree with that. He's been a big improvement for us.
Before we get into score predictions, Brad, anything else you want to get into regarding this game? You want to ask Evan that you believe is a good, just good topic to discuss?
Who's the player to watch? I know your running back is one guy that everybody keeps name keeps bringing up. Who's somebody on the defense side of the ball that we need to watch out for?
Defensive side is going to come and go with two players. Tanner Engel, our safety. The two games that we've lost, he's been hurt or out, and he got ejected from one for targeting, but he plays with an intensity. And he's small, he's kind of undersized, but he plays with an intensity. He's clearly the leader on that defense.
Okay.
So watch him if he plays. He had a hammy. He left the last game with a hammy, but he's had 2 weeks. He should be okay. I think he's going to play. He's the heart and soul of that defense from the back, and he is our best run tackler. He's one of our leading tacklers. Was our leading tackler last year as a true freshman. The second is Peyton Wilson in the middle. He plays with an intensity that is just awesome to watch, man. If you're a football fan, he's very like throwback.
Okay.
He's got that
grit.
Just watch him play, man. He's really like a guy you want on your team, but a guy you hate playing against. He makes some dumb plays and he gets out of position at times, but he plays hard all the time. And Dave Dorn has said it numerous times is that he plays so hard that he sometimes plays himself out of the next play, right? He just needs to rein it in and get it under control. But those two guys, man, on defense, even if you're not a State fan and just watching a football game, those two guys are worth watching. They're really fun.
For sure.
All right. Well, without further ado, let's get into some predictions. Miami, key stat of the night, 0 for 4 after bye weeks under Coach Manny Diaz. Friday night game in Carter Finley Stadium, Raleigh, North Carolina. It's going to be on ESPN. Wow, I cannot wait. Honestly, it's unfortunate they're not going to let in more people or just be more feasible with the public. If not, I wish I could be there, but they really are doing a tough job letting people in. I got Miami winning 30-24. The spread is 10. Some say it's even peaked to 12 on some betting sites. I think it's going to be a tough game. Tough first half. I wouldn't be surprised if NC State takes a 10-point lead and then Miami adjusts in the second half or wins on a final drive. I think it's going to be a rough game all around. It's going to be a flat game. And, I think the key is getting to the quarterback, getting to Bailey Hawkman, creating turnovers. If Miami wins the turnover battle, if they can be successful running the football, which they have failed to do the past 3 games with their 3 running backs, if they can get over 100 rushing yards, win the turnover battle, I think the Miami Hurricanes will lock up this game in Raleigh, North Carolina. Evan, what is your score prediction?
That's funny, man. I enjoy watching your chat go by. Those guys, you're smoking, not going to score 24 on us. I think it's going to be a pretty close game. I think what you said is whoever wins that turnover battle, right? If Bailey Hawkman doesn't turn the ball over, I think we're fine. But I also think it's interesting that both Canes fans and State fans don't think it's about the other team. It's about their team, right? I think the same thing. If we play well, I think we have a chance. You guys play well, you probably should win. You're the higher ranked team, Mm-hmm. I'd probably say somewhere. I like that 30-24 score. I think that's pretty good. I think it's going to be pretty close. 34-30 is what I'm going to say. I'm going to say the Pack's going to win at the end because I'm a Pack fan.
34-30?
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Brad, what do you got for us, man? Friday night matchup.
Hey, all black versus all white, right? They're bringing out the black uniforms. They're bringing out the stormtroopers. It could easily be a 48-35 game matchup, like Evan was saying. It could easily be high scoring, but me personally, I have a lot more faith in our defense than our offense coming in after a bye. And I think it's going to end up being like 24-21 or 28-17 Miami. I'll go with 28-17 Miami.
All right. I like it.
You're not going to bring out the chain, Brad?
Bring it out.
Love it.
We got the turnover chain.
Brad, where did you get that turnover chain, by the way?
A lady named Michelle on Facebook. She makes a lot of chains for not only Miami fans, but if you're Evan, if you're an NC State fan and you want the actual Wolfpack like logo on a chain, she does NFL teams, baseball teams. It doesn't matter. She's a lot cheaper than all these other places that are making these chains. And
what's her Twitter handle so I can put it on here?
So I don't have her Twitter handle. She doesn't have a Twitter. All I have is her name and her telephone number. She has no problem getting any text messages or phone calls. So she already told me if we could put out the word if you want. Her telephone number is 609-462-3252. Doesn't matter what your favorite team is. You send her a message, tell her that we sent you, and she'll make you a chain.
Love it.
It's funny, Brad. I was gonna make a joke about that earlier because Miami hasn't used their turnover chain much this year. I was gonna ask you if that was actually theirs.
Hey, it could look like it. It's pretty close, but yeah, you're right. We haven't used it at all. It seems like I've had to wipe off a couple dust bunnies on it.
Evan, thank you so much for joining us, man. Greatly appreciate your time. And best of luck come Friday night. And let's see, maybe your prediction is right. Maybe it's wrong. That's the beauty of the game. That's why they play the games. Thank you so much.
No pressure on us. I appreciate it, guys.
All right. Take care. See ya. All right. That was Evan from Red and White Podcast. He's predicting the upset.
Hurricane Millie. Her last name is Spanganti, I believe. It's an Italian name. She's from New Jersey. If you look her up on Facebook, it's Michelle with one L. Michelle Spacanti. And I just put out her telephone number as well. And like I said, her whole business has changed. So she can make you pretty much any chain you want. And like I said, I just got mine not too long ago. The quality is amazing. I mean, it's really heavy, actually. I mean, it's pretty legit. So whatever you need, she's got it.
All right, Brad. Anything else you want to cover before we head off and wrap it up for today's show?
Man. It's November, man. Again, happy belated birthday. My birthday's coming up as well. It's the biggest month of college football, as we all know, heading into November. And tonight we have a big high school football game in South Florida. You got Miami Palmetto versus Miami Northwestern at 7:00 at Traz Palace Stadium. You're going to have tons of recruits for that game, so that's going to be a big one to watch. I believe Michael McLaughlin out of Stoneman Douglas plays tonight as well, offensive line commit. And then Friday, tomorrow, you have St. Thomas Aquinas First American, which is going to be James Williams, as we all know, 5-star safety. First Dallas Turner, Jaden Hood. You got Little Jr. and Marvin Jones Jr. as well. So tons of commits the next 2 days, Thursday and Friday. And, of course, you got our game tomorrow night.
Love it. All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. We had a ton of great guests. And are we going to do a post-game show?
Yeah, we can do one.
All right, let's do it. Catch us after the game Friday night, whether we win, lose, or it's a shootout.
We need a W. That's all. I don't care. I was almost close to not doing a score prediction, Paul, because at the end of the day, I tweeted this earlier. All I want is a W. I don't care what it takes. It's 2020. This is a very tough year for all of us, but not just us, but it seems like for a lot of college football teams. Every week, it's hard to be consistent. And yes, we're not consistent every week, but we are at least getting the consistent outcome, and that's a W. So get me the W. I don't care how it looks. We could critique it after, but let's keep the wins going.
Dope. All right. Have a great day, everyone. And always, all about the U.
All about the U.